안녕하세요. Riding on the Korean wave. Welcome to a brand new week with the Culture Wave. I'm Kwon-Soa in Seoul. Explore with us Korea's culture from all aspects and stay up to date with K-entertainment with a special focus on K-pop today, K-trends, K-literature, and more. And we start off the week with our Monday co-host, Walter Lee. Hello, Walter.
Hello, everyone at home. It's good to see you. Can't wait for our K-enter. And so you're kind of giving me some vibes, like you kind of look like Rosé today.
That's no coincidence, Bruno. I mean, Walter.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Because we will be delving into your favorite Blackpink member's new album later in the show with an expert.
Excellent.
All right, but first, we're going to go over to Sweden, where a significant week is taking place. So over in the Swedish capital, Nobel Week is underway with just one day to go until Nobel Day, when this year's laureates will be honored at an awards ceremony and banquet. Leading up to the big day, Korean author Han Kang, this year's Nobel Prize winner in literature, has been stepping into the spotlight, meeting with the press and the public. Our culture correspondent Song Yoo-jin reports from Stockholm.
December 3rd was a night of shock for many in Korea, including author Han Kang, this year's Nobel laureate in literature. Currently in Stockholm for Nobel Week, Han shared their thoughts on Korea's political turmoil during a press conference on Friday, a subject she found deeply personal.
To write Human Acts, I studied the martial law situation from late 1979. Witnessing martial law unfold again in 2024 was startling. But what was different this time was how everything was broadcast live for everyone to see in real time.
Human Acts explores Korea's painful history during the 1980 democratization movement in Gwangju City. The movement arose as a response to the brutal military suppression that followed martial law in 1979. Although the martial law declaration this time lasted only a few hours, Han says what she witnessed left a profound impact.
I saw people trying to stop armored vehicles with their bodies, others holding back soldiers with their hands, and some standing firm against advancing troops with guns. As the soldiers withdrew, some even called out, "Take care," like they were saying goodbye to their sons. I could feel their sincerity and courage.
What also struck her was the difference in the behavior of police officers and soldiers compared to the violence of 1979.
They seemed to be grappling with the unexpected situation, trying to make their own judgments while holding back as much as possible. From the perspective of their commanders, it might have looked passive, but I saw it as an active effort, thinking, feeling, and searching for a solution grounded in universal values.
Han also offered her thoughts on what role literature can play during times of crisis.
I sincerely hope we don't return to the past where force and suppression silence the press. Literature allows us to delve into the inner lives of others while exploring our own. This process builds the strength to think, judge, and act decisively in difficult moments. Literature isn't something extra, it's essential.
After nearly 2 months of keeping a low profile following her Nobel Prize win, Korean author Han Kang has embraced the spotlight at Nobel Week.
This award is given to the literature, and this year I was awarded. This is my conclusion, and this makes me more comfortable.
Now feeling more at ease with her Nobel laureate title, the 54-year-old author shared her journey of uncovering the overarching theme of her work during her Nobel lecture, Light and Thread.
세계는 왜 이토록 폭력적이고 고통스러운가? 동시에 세계는 어떻게 이렇게 아름다운가? 이 두 질문 사이의 긴장과 내적 투쟁이 나의 글쓰기를 밀고 온 동력이었다고 오랫동안 믿어왔습니다.
These questions were etched in her mind at age 12 after seeing photographs of civilians killed during the Gwangju democratization movement. Decades later, while writing her 2014 novel Human Acts, which delves into the tragedy, she discovered that love, not those questions, was at the heart of her storytelling.
우리는 인간성을 믿고자 하기에 그 믿음이 흔들릴 때 자신이 파괴되는 것을 느끼는 것일까? 우리는 인간을 사랑하고자 하기에 그 사랑이 부서질 때 고통을 느끼는 것일까? 사랑에서 고통이 생겨나고 어떤 고통은 사랑의 증거인 것일까?
This connection to love, however, had always been with her. At 8 years old, Han wrote a poem that read, "Where is love? It is inside my thumb-thumping, beating chest. What is love? It is the gold thread connecting between our hearts." Now, she sees writing itself as an act of that love.
소설을 쓸 때 나는 신체를 사용합니다. 심장이 뛰고 갈증과 허기를 느끼고 걷고 달리고 바람과 눈비를 맞고 손을 맞잡는 모든 감각의 세부들을 사용합니다. 그 생생한 감각들을 전류처럼 문장들에 불어넣으려 하고 그 전류가 읽는 사람들에게 전달되는 것을 느낄 때면 놀라고 감동합니다. 언어가 우리를 잇는 실이라는 것을
Han concluded her 30-minute lecture by thanking her readers.
So with two major events in her Nobel Week itinerary completed, up next for the Nobel laureate in literature is attending the Nobel Prize ceremony and banquet on Tuesday, December 10th. 송유진, Arirang News, Stockholm.
I felt author Han Kang's lecture itself sounded like a literary piece of its own. What did you think, Walter?
Yeah, I was actually really inspired by the poem that she wrote at just 8 years old. I mean, that just shows you how much talent she had from such a young age.
Right, it was incredible, I have to say. And having stayed out of the spotlight for around 2 months, I think it was a very fulfilling time for Han's fans as well. And also to speak on this occasion, plus also to hear what she thinks of the current turmoil here in Korea.
Yeah, she also touched upon her current novel she's working on, The White Book, which deals with the theme of loss and indestructibility as well.
Now, tomorrow is the big day, Tuesday, when Han Kang and other Nobel Prize winners are going to be rewarded with medals and diplomas. So we can't wait for that big day. And we're also going to be connecting with our very own culture correspondent, Song Yoo-jin, to report live on the scene.
That'd be awesome.
Right, but before that, we have more news today. So let's go over to our AI anchor, Ari, with our daily culture-related news.
Join us on the Culture Wave AI News as we dive into Korea's cultural highlights. Let's get started with today's top story. The Culture Ministry has urged key tourism agencies to inform international counterparts that South Korea is safe to visit and that there is no need for travel advisories. It also pledged to address any challenges related to attracting or managing tourists in the wake of martial law shockwaves. Minister Yoo In-chun called on staff to stay resolute despite external turmoil and ensure the smooth execution of international events such as the Korea-Japan Tourism Business Forum and the Korea-Japan-China Sports Ministers meeting. Arirang TV and Open Cyber University of Korea co-hosted a global forum on artificial intelligence to explore rapidly evolving industry trends driven by AI technology. The forum featured 5 sessions, including generative AI and shifting paradigms in global education, and the convergence of broadcasting and artificial intelligence. Kim Jong-sik, head of Arirang TV Management Division, shared real-world examples of AI technology's impact on broadcasting and offered insights into its future trajectory. Apple Music Classical has selected South Korean pianist Im Yoon-chan's Chopin Etude as the most popular album of the year. Lim said he's honored to receive the recognition. Lim won the prestigious Gramophone Classical Music Award in the piano category in October, becoming the first Korean pianist to achieve such a feat. Apple Music Classical boasts one of the world's largest collections of classical music. Research papers analyzing the works of Nobel Prize laureate Han Kang are now available for free online. Bookstore chain Yes24 and academic content platform DBpedia have announced the free release of 5 research papers examining Han's narratives and their significance in Korean literature. The papers, available through Sunday, delve into Han's literary world, examining themes such as the significance of vegetarianism and the symbolism of white hues in her iconic works. This initiative marks the Nobel Prize award ceremony for Han, set to take place on Tuesday in Stockholm. That's all for now. Stay tuned for more cultural updates and engaging discussions coming your way.
Time for our daily K-Enter News with Walter Lee. Walter, we're going to start off with a lawsuit between an artist and a label, but this time it's not about new jeans.
It's not about new jeans, and it's shocking if true. So on Monday, JYP USA released an official statement discussing a member of Korean American girl group VCHA saying, in May, KG, who is one of the members, left the group dorm and requested discussions through her legal representative. Now, consequently, we temporarily halted VCHA's future activities and engaged in discussions with KG's representative to explore various solutions. Now, KG is an American member of the group, and she announced on her social media on Saturday LA time that after experiencing abuse and unfair treatment from certain staff members, I decided to terminate my contract with JYP Entertainment and leave VCHA. Yesterday, I filed a lawsuit, and she also added, I'm not in support of the working and living conditions that led a member to attempt suicide, nor do I support an environment that encourages eating disorders and has caused members to self-harm. Now, JYP has responded, JYP USA, and said that these claims are false and exaggerated. So VCHA, who actually only debuted in January, is a joint Korean-American girl group formed through the global project A2K, a collaboration between JYP as well as Republic Records, a label under Universal Music Group.
Well, keep us updated on whether those claims turn out to be true or false. But in the meantime, we're going to move on to BTS and a specific member of BTS.
Yes, indeed. So to celebrate the release last Thursday of BTS leader RM's documentary film called RM, Right People, Wrong Place, the BTS leader unveiled on Saturday his music video for Around the World in a Day featuring Moses Sumney, now a track from his second solo album. Now RM compiled some footage filmed during the production of his second solo album and arranging it like a diary and used it to create his music video for his song. Now, the documentary itself was actually screened at the open cinema section at the Busan Film Festival this year and shows the audience the difference between RM, the BTS leader, versus Kim Namjoon, which is RM's real name, the person. So it's a very good contrast between the two characters.
And we're going to end off with ATEEZ news.
Yes, now ATEEZ's latest track, Ice on My Teeth, from the boy group's 11th mini album, Golden Hour Part 2, I talked about this a couple of weeks ago, has now got a full English version of the co-written by Korean-American rapper PH1, which was released Thursday last week. Now, ATEEZ have been very experimental with their song Ice on My Teeth, releasing a first remix album called Festa Remixes 1. Now, it features a sped up version, a sped down version, and even an instrumental version as well. And later, they made a second remix album called Festa Remixes 2, offering 3 new interpretations of the title track. Now, this includes the interesting album title called Double Pepperoni Version, sounds delicious, characterized by metallic sounds, the Olive Alive version, which is with an impactful multi-layered drop section, and the Tell Me Bye version, which blends in retro vibes with modern sounds, providing listeners with a variety of appealing elements. But anyone who's waiting to see ATEEZ's next performance, they are scheduled to perform at the 2024 Music Bank Global Festival in Japan on the 19th of December, and also the 2024 SBS Gayo Daejeon on the 25th of December as well.
All right. Great news for fans, English-speaking fans who are also fans of the song, of course, Ice on My Teeth. And we're going to have our eyes on ATs. And you, of course, as you've been following ATs a lot, Walter.
A lot recently, yes.
All right. Thank you, Walter. Stick around.
I will.
아파트. While the 아파트 phenomenon set off by Blackpink's Rosé and Bruno Mars shows no signs of slowing down yet, Rosé recently released her long-awaited first solo studio album, Rosie. In today's Culture issue, we will delve into the K-pop artist's unique music style depicted in the album and talk a little bit about K-pop infused with different genres. And for that, we now invite Claire Marie Lim, music technologist, artist, and faculty member at Berklee College of Music, who connects to us from New York. Hello, Claire.
Hello, Claire.
Hi, Soa. Hi, Walter. Thanks so much for having me.
Thank you for joining us. So first of all, it was last week on Friday, December 6th, when Rosé released Rosie, her first full-length album as a solo artist. So what's your assessment of this album?
That's such a great question. So when I first listened to the album, I really just couldn't help but enjoy it. It was so natural and wonderful to listen to. And I've been listening to Rosé for a while. I remember listening to her very first single, On the Ground, which was released in 2021. And it was so gratifying for me as someone who's been listening to a lot of K-pop over the years. It's been almost 20 years for me now. To hear an artist have this trajectory. On the Ground had very much, rock influences there, and you can hear a lot of the same influences in Rosie as a full album, but also lots of development too, where you have more genres that are being incorporated into the music. And really listening through the album from start to finish for all 12 tracks, it was such a journey to be taken on.
Same here. I have been listening throughout the weekend, all the 12 tracks, just like you, Claire. Now, Rosé's 아파트, featuring Bruno Mars, was a rock-based cross-genre song. So do you see Rosé's album as an extension of the K-pop star's experiment of combining such different music style?
Oh, absolutely. And I totally love it. I think one thing that's really special about Rosé is that she's able to kind of take her own influences that she's passionate about and incorporate that into her music. Which is why, even though I've really listened to a lot of Blackpink's discography, and Rosé being a member of Blackpink, it's really wonderful for me to see her solo work, because I think having a solo project really lets these individual artists within a group speak out a lot more about their own styles and the types of genres that they gravitate a bit more towards, and also get a chance to write a little bit more too. I think sometimes in K-pop, especially when you're in a group, not everyone gets the opportunity to contribute to the creation of compositions within an album or within an EP, but she has written so many of the songs or co-written them on her album. So that's really wonderful from an artistic perspective as well.
Yes, I remember she did an interview saying how much she took part of it and how emotional she was when she was writing some of the songs. But how do you think the endeavor paid off musically?
Oh, it totally paid off. I think it was absolutely, if there was any, question about whether incorporating rock into a main single of a K-pop artist was risky, I think it totally paid off. I recently was visiting Seoul, actually, a couple of weeks ago, and everywhere on the streets, you would hear 아파트 being played. And even, over here in New York, where I'm based, or, in the United States, where I teach, all of my students who are doing anything related to songwriting all know the song, even those who aren't necessarily Korean or who don't necessarily listen regularly to K-pop. They know 아파트, so it's definitely become quite a phenomenon.
And Claire, I just recently was in Singapore, and actually, really, the first song that I heard in a taxi or a Grab, I should say, was actually 아파트. So I was really surprised. Claire, is infusing different genres into Korean pop music part of what makes actually K-pop appealing to the global audience, do you think?
Yeah, that's a great question, Soa. And I would say yes, very much so. One thing that we're experiencing a lot of now, especially I would say in the last good decade or so, is that non-Korean speakers or folks who might not be familiar with even Korean culture are getting into it because of K-pop. And I do think that a lot of these genre blending artists are responsible for that. So for example, even thinking a little bit about artists like New Jeans or Stray Kids, incorporating not really common types of electronic pop styles into their music, but pulling from international subgenres of electronic music into their content. And in this case, Rosé kind of going for a bit more of a rock vibe, but also collaborating with artists who are a little bit out of the traditional Blackpink electronic pop genre, Bruno Mars in this case. That's a really great move for expanding this artist's audience.
Then how do you see K-pop's approach to experimenting with different genres and styles impacting the global music market?
Yeah, that's a great question, Walter. I do think that honestly, things will just keep expanding from here. One thing that I've been really happy to see, really, since you mentioned the expansion of the global market, is that K-pop has been continuing to grow. Because I remember when I first started listening to K-pop, and I would sometimes be, kind of the odd one out listening to K-pop amongst, my social circle or amongst friends or teachers or even my parents. So they were kind of taken aback at first. But now that people have started listening so much to K-pop and also spreading it to their own friends, we've really got this great network of K-pop appreciators all spreading across the globe, through dance, through songs, of course, just through K-pop culture in general, which I think is great.
Now, sometimes existing music pieces serve as a huge inspiration in producing a new song. For instance, we've got Korean traditional 국악 music or classical music that may be inserted into modern day songs. But we would like to know, how does this work in terms of copyright issues?
Yeah, that's a great question too. Well, I think one thing to keep in mind about copyright as well is that it does differ a little bit depending on the country that you're in. So for example, the copyright law in the United States would be different from South Korean copyright law. But I do think one kind of additional thing to consider, which might not be thought of off the bat by a lot of folks who sample pieces, is that you've got the copyright for the composition, but you also have a copyright for the recording of the music, right? So for example, if someone were to record a specific rendition of a 국악 song, they would need to be accountable for that recording. So in some cases, you really do need to kind of walk a fine line about getting licenses, getting the proper permissions for you to use a song in your music. And that's actually a little of what happened in Apatı. I'm not sure if a lot of folks realize, but there's an interpolation, we call it, of a segment of music from a tune called Mickey, which was released in 1991. So that was something that I think they probably had to get a lot of clearances for, especially because, the original composers are listed as composers in Apatı as well. So they did their homework over there.
I think it can be a quite a complex issue, but yet I think it's worth it.
Yeah, and as a professional who has been following and enjoying K-pop for a long time, what are your thoughts on the changes and achievements of K-pop's global influence?
Yeah, I'm definitely really proud of how far K-pop has come, if I could be, proud of it. I think one thing that I've been really impressed with, especially in the last couple of years, which follows a little bit through with, Rosé's album too, is the way that K-pop artists have been collaborating with non-K-pop artists. I think that's a really great way of being able to, like I said just now, expand the reach of a song. But it's also great for artists themselves to have the experience of working with other folks. When we think about how artists are always looking to improve themselves and, get even better at their craft, I always think that working with other people who you might not be too familiar with is a really great way of doing that. So I'm really happy with the progress that K-pop has made.
And now, Claire, speaking as an expert and specifically from the point of view of a music technologist and musician, are there any elements that you think would help K-pop continue to grow further in the future?
Oh, absolutely. One that comes to mind almost immediately is the idea of experimentation, which we briefly spoke about just now too. But I've really found that K-pop songs have a lot of success when they keep trying to push the envelope. The K-pop has now developed such a great fan base, a core group of listeners who are, fans of music, fans of groups, artists that they support. And it's a really great way for artists to then have the confidence to experiment with new genres. For example, one of my favorite tunes on Rosé's album, which maybe is a little bit of the lesser known ones, is Drinks or Coffee, which is the track that's right before Apatse in the track list. And it has some really wonderful Afrobeats influences, which I found so interesting when I was listening to it. I played the song, and the moment that drum groove started coming on, I was really impressed. And I think that if other artists do the same thing too, we'll definitely find a lot of success in the continued growth of K-pop.
So experimenting, I guess, is the key word today. Thank you very much, Claire, for your insights today.
Thank you, Claire.
Great, thank you so much for having me.
And thank you, Walter, as always.
Thank you,
we'll see you back later in the week.
See you later.
Now, thank you for spending the past half an hour with us on the Culture Wave. Please join us again tomorrow on Tuesday at 2 p.m. Korea time, and maybe one day here in Korea.